Hello and welcome to 50's Thoughts. So I've recently found and become addicted to a little show called Studio C. For those who don't know, Studio C is a family-friendly sketch comedy show that airs on BYU TV. The show was created by Matt Meese and Jared Shores, and the show has been going on for 6 seasons, with the 7th season premiering in September. And since they recently hit 1 million subscribers on their YouTube channel, I've decided to go through all their sketches and choose my top 10 favorite Studio C sketches. Now, I know, your favorite may not be on this list, so leave your favorites down in the comment section below. And if you want to check out Studio C, their channel, their website, and the links to all of the sketches that I feature in this list will be in the description. But before we jump into that list, we should go over the rules for which sketches can be on this list and which sketches cannot be on this list. As of writing this, it is July 12, 2016. So obviously any sketch that airs on their YouTube channel after this point in time will not be on the list. Also, any sketch that isn't on their YouTube channel, such as Juan from Cabo, will not be featured on the list. There will be no online events, such as their 1 million subscriber challenge or the behind the scenes videos, because they're not sketches. And finally, there will be no tongue twister sketches on this list either. Mainly because, as impressive as they are, the joke is more coming from them messing up and having to start all over than from the actual sketch itself. So without further ado, let's jump into my top 10 Studio C sketches. Number 10. Shoulder Angel and Shoulder Devil. Now you may be wondering why I have only chosen this one when I have grouped some other sketches and their sequels together later on in this list. It's mainly because I truly believe that this is the best one, where with the others that I've paired together, I thought that they were equal to one another. The premise of the sketch is that McKay, a fellow member of Divine Comedy, which Studio C spawned from, and Matt are life-sized shoulder angels and shoulder devils, persuading people either to do the right thing or an evil thing. In this sketch's case, giving the cashier the money back since he gave too much change, and trying to serve someone fast food that has touched the ground. The idea of the sketch is amazing, and you'll hear me say that a lot during this top 10 list, but the hilarity comes from how they get on top of James and Jason's shoulders. The reason why I love this sketch so much is because McKay does this pretty much with ease while Matt struggles to hang on at some points. The other great thing about this sketch is how hard Jason is trying to make sure that him both and Matt don't fall flat on their faces. The banter is great between Matt and McKay, and the physical comedy is great as well. The only negative that I have about the sketch is that if you don't find physical humor funny, then you won't necessarily like the sketch since it is the majority of it. But at least you can admit that Matt's human climbing ability is really impressive. If you're into this kind of physical comedy like I am, then this is definitely one to check out. Number 9. Voicemail problems. Again, this is an amazing premise and one that I feel that a lot of people can relate to. Jason is trying to set up his voicemail for his phone but cannot decide on what his outgoing message should be. Here he goes through all the stereotypical voicemail messages, such as making you think that you actually got someone on the line when it was the answering machine the whole time, the impersonation of someone famous, and the straightforward answering machine, and many more. As someone who can never decide on what his outgoing message should be, I totally relate to this sketch and find it to describe the task of setting it up perfectly, especially at the end of the sketch, which I will not spoil here. It also helps that Jason does some pretty impressive impersonations within the video. It's one of those sketches where the idea is simple but the execution nails the concept on the head. It's honestly a great sketch and for some reason is really making me want to change my outgoing message for some reason. Number 8. All 7 Just Jeremy sketches. First of all, that opening jingle.
Just Jeremy.
It is just perfectly catchy and will never escape my head no matter how hard I try. Also, the head turn just cracks me up every time. These sketches normally start off with a fun fact about Jeremy before getting into the idea of the main sketch. The idea of the sketch is to give you a look inside Jeremy Warner's head whether you wanted to or not. As Jeremy states,
"You know that this is my thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't really get to do very much on the show, and this is kind of my niche."
So you can see why certain people cherish these sketches. The sketches are pretty short and are pretty basic, but the way that Jeremy executes them are sometimes just funny or, well, just Jeremy enough to make it funny. You really have to have a certain taste for most of the Just Jeremy sketches, but the two that I don't really think that you need to have that sense of humor for are titled Sci-Fi Movies and Balloon Animals. In sci-fi movies, Jeremy tells a story about how his dad would try to relate to him before he left for school every day, while in Balloon Animals, he tries to teach you how to make balloon animals. Both punchlines to these jokes are genuinely funny and would be the best place to start off if you were showing people their first Just Jeremy sketches. Show these to them to start off, and hopefully they will understand why people like Jeremy when he's
Just Jeremy.
Number 7. Two guys on a scooter. Again, another basic idea that has great execution. Two guys on a scooter is about, well, exactly what you would expect. Two guys on a scooter. But throughout the sketch, more and more people start riding on the scooter to what I think is safe to call an extreme amount of people on one scooter. Now, alone, this sketch may not be that funny, or at least the way that they went about it in this sketch. What truly sells the sketch is the music played every single time a new person is added to the scooter. The song may be basic, but it is super catchy, and it just makes the sketch funnier. I can't explain it, but it truly does. Now, just listen to the sketch with the music taken out.
Can I get a ride? Sure.
Now listen to it with the song put back in.
Can I get a ride? Sure.
Two guys on a scooter. Two guys on a scooter. Two guys on a scooter.
It is also great how they transition in and out of the song. Personally, I just love this sketch and wish that they will release this song on some sort of music service. That way I can play it either at parties or when I'm just in the mood for a catchy tune. Number 6. The new GoPro Setting. This sketch was written by Jason Gray and goes a little something like this. The Studio C crew have returned from a bike riding expedition, and all of them are wearing the new GoPro Spectives. Like a normal GoPro, it records what you are seeing from a first-person point of view. However, when you change it to the GoPro Spective mode, it allows you to see what the person was thinking during the time of its recording. Personally, this sketch has a lot of great jokes in it. Jason's perspective has a lot of great slapstick, Steven's perspective has a lot of great prop humor, James and Natalie's perspectives are just great opposites, and Mallory's is a great way to end this sketch. Personally, I would have loved to see Matt and Jeremy's perspectives, and I hope that there is a sequel to the sketch, that way we can see those perspectives. If I had any real problem with this sketch, it's mainly that Whitney's child actor doesn't really look like her at all, but again, that's just nitpicking. Besides that, this is an amazing sketch that I hope never turns into a reality. Number 5. Prop switch. Personally, I think that the sketch just describes it perfectly, so I'm gonna have them describe the sketch to you.
You see, we here at Studio C spend many hours writing, revising, and sometimes completely rewriting our shows. Sometimes, however, our material doesn't need to be rewritten, but merely looked at in another way. We will illustrate this principle by making a slight change, replacing this questionable pastry with a baby.
Honestly, this is just the perfect idea. Does the sketch start off kind of slow? Yes. But when it reaches the scene that I just showed you before, the laughs just do not stop. If this is your first time watching this sketch, then I'm sorry that I just ruined the plot twist, but honestly they kind of already did that with the thumbnail. But even then, it doesn't ruin too much until you have heard the entire conversation, which I have to admit is beautifully crafted. The video doesn't list who wrote this sketch, but I just want to say whoever did write it is a genius. Each line hits you harder and harder when you hear that twist, and they, like they demonstrate, take something that is not funny at all and turn it into a riot. I wish that they can find more ways to do sketches similar to this, since I think it could be interesting to see what else they can do with the concept. But until then, this will still have me laughing, and again, props to whoever wrote this. That was a bad pun. Moving on. Number 4. Awkward eulogy. Just like the Just Jeremy sketches, this is one of the times where Jeremy really shines. The concept of the sketch is that everyone is gathered for what Jeremy thinks is to be a funeral for one of his friends, and he has to say a couple words about him. Again, I won't spoil the ending here since it is a great ending to the sketch, but let's just say it's awkward for another reason. If you are a fan of Jeremy's comedy, then this sketch is perfect for you. And if you aren't, there is something that will get you to crack up. The fact that no one was able to hold a straight face except for Jeremy and Stacy is amazing. They all try so hard, and right when we cut to them again, more and more of them start to lose their straight faces. Jeremy's speech, while bizarre, is filled with jokes that will hit you hard and will hit you harder when they cut to the cast losing it. It is truly hard to describe what is funny without giving the joke away or just saying it's funny, but honestly, trust me when I say that this is a gem of a sketch and will always get me laughing no matter what mood I'm in. And I believe that this will do the same for you. Number 3. Mafia. Now, to understand this sketch, you don't need to understand the game of Mafia in order to make it funny. This sketch gives you all the information you need to make this a hysterical demonstration of slapstick done correctly. The idea of the sketch is that Jason is new and the group want to try to make him feel welcome with a game known as Mafia. But when Jason misunderstands what he is supposed to do in the game, the comedy starts to take over. What makes the sketch work is the awkwardness of Jason's character and his, what I'll describe as, innocence. Without these two things, this sketch would just not work. James's wording also helps make this sketch shine when he is describing to Jason how he should go about being the Mafia. As I mentioned before, this slapstick between Jason and Steven just really sell this sketch entirely. I also love Jason's facial expressions throughout the sketch since it really sells the character that he's trying to portray, and again, the execution is spot on. Also, that flip is amazing. Again, a perfectly executed sketch that will keep me laughing every time I see it. Number 2. The Crayon Song gets ruined. Now, to be honest, the first time I watched it, it wasn't one of my favorites. But with some rewatching, it started to truly grow on me. The premise is that on this kids show with a super ridiculously long name, the actors are trying to teach the children at home their colors. But when Adam, who is portraying the black crayon, starts ruining the song, the other actors also dressed up as crayons try to fight back. Originally, I didn't really find Adam funny until he went over the top, and for those who have seen it, you know the exact point of which I'm talking about. But the more and more you watch it, the more and more you appreciate his role in the sketch. This moment for me was when I turned on the subtitles to hear exactly what they were saying over one another. Like for an example, when they get to the color yellow and scream out the wrong word at the end of the verse. For me, this was a great touch that I missed the first time. It also makes the sketch funnier when he is totally oblivious to the fact that Adam has gone too far out of line and is still continuing the song like nothing ever happened. Also, when Jason, the purple crayon, fights back, his line after he takes care of Adam is just perfect.
Take care of the bodies! Shove them up a kid's nose or something!
It just fits the atmosphere of the sketch so well. And let's not forget the thing that will get anyone laughing, even if they didn't like the majority of the sketch the first time around like I did. Which is Stacy and his crayon color. Again, I will not spoil it here, but it is perfectly executed. Give it a watch, and if you didn't enjoy it the first time, give it a couple more watches, and hopefully it will grow on you just like it did me. Before we go into my number 1 pick, I want to show you 5 honorable mentions that didn't make the list, but I still want to add to the list without giving them an actual number value. Everything Sounds Nicer. This one was just short of making it onto the list, but is truly one of my personal favorites. Mallory has to fire Adam from his job, but Mallory doesn't have the nerve to just say it. But she does have the nerve to sing it. Just the idea alone will get you to crack up, and I have to admit that Mallory's vocals do make some of the things that she is singing about a lot better than what they should have. Mallory has some really great vocals, and I'll put a link into the description for those who want to hear more of her singing voice. I honestly probably have most of this song memorized at this point, and I love how well crafted each verse is. My personal favorite lines involve Jason and Matt. Just every time I hear those lines, I can't help but laugh and sing along at the same time. Even if you aren't a fan of musical numbers, this one will still be for you. Trust me on this when I say that this would have been on the list if it was a top 11 instead of a top 10. Mallory, Jason, and Matt just kill it in this sketch, and I truly hope that you guys check this one out. Crisis at the Confessional. Matt did an amazing job writing this sketch. It just feels so realistic to me, and when you hear the premise, you'll understand why. Matt is a thief and is trying to seek redemption by confronting the Catholic Church. When they say that he can confess his sins at the confessional, the crisis starts as soon as he enters the wrong confessional room. The back and forth between Matt and Whitney is just great because of how oblivious both of them are to what's going on. Also, the ongoing joke that Matt's characters like to steal things just makes this sketch funnier to me. Each line is really well crafted, and the ending is just as hysterical as the conversation between Matt and Whitney. If you love watching misunderstandings, then this is a great sketch for you. Backyard Crime Cover-Up. I may be remembering this wrong, but this probably was the first Studio C sketch I ever saw. And I'm glad that I did, since this would be up there with Everything Sounds Nicer. The idea is that Matt is holding James for ransom in his backyard while he's having his family over for Christmas. Not sure why he would do this outside of the plot of the sketch, but moving on. All of a sudden, Jason walks in on Matt, and when more and more people start walking into Matt's backyard, Jason will do whatever it takes to cover everything up. This is another example of slapstick done right. Every hit just gets funnier and funnier, and each hit gets more extreme than the last. Both Matt and Jason's reactions to each hit also makes it better and better, and I just love the flow of this sketch. It just gives you enough time to breathe before the next hit, and before you start laughing hysterically again. If you love perfectly timed slapstick, you're going to need an oxygen tank by the end of this sketch. It's just that good. Flirting Academy and Flirting Academy Graduation. I paired both of these two together again because these two truly tell a great story. The sketches are focused around a class focused on teaching people who are socially awkward how to flirt. Whitney is the teacher of the course while pretty much everyone else is taking the course. And if you've learned anything about Studio C from this video, you know that they take a simple premise like this and amp it up to comedy gold. Everyone is practically perfect in this sketch. From Steven with his bubble addiction, to Jeremy with his habit of crying at beautiful women, everyone just has a role that fits them perfectly. Personally, I rewatch the first Flirting Academy more than I do Graduation, but it does give good insight to what would happen if they were to graduate from the course 6 weeks later. In Graduation, many of the jokes from the first one are expanded, like the two that I mentioned before, but the show stealer really comes from Jason in Graduation. I won't spoil it since it really is something that needs to be seen, but again, the Flirting Academy sketches are really well put together and a really great laugh. Man on a Ledge. Now this one kind of has a dark premise at first, but it has a good twist ending. Matt is on the ledge of a building eating a sandwich from Arby's when all of a sudden cast members start showing up to try to talk him off of the ledge. Like some other sketches on this list, this sketch kind of has a slow build-up, but the end punchline is really what you watch the sketch for. That and the part where Whitney comes in playing the role of Matt's mother. Normally, when Whitney plays a character instead of herself, I tend to not like the sketch because I mainly don't like the character that she's trying to portray. Examples, Ann Withers and the I Don't Do Mornings characters come to mind. There are a couple exceptions, and this is one of those exceptions. She nails the character and her delivery in this sketch, and her character is actually extremely funny to me. Again, it's kind of hard to explain without saying it's funny or without giving away the joke, but this is truly one to check out, and you'll see why I like it so much when you actually watch it. I don't even think that I have to say what number one is, but just take a guess. Just take a guess for me. Trust me, you'll get it. You'll get it. All right? Just say it with me now.
Scott Sterling!
Yep, both Scott Sterlings. Originally, I was just gonna put the first one on here, but there's no way I could leave the other one off. If you have never watched this sketch and are a fan of Studio C, then what are you doing? And if you haven't seen it before, this probably will be the first Studio C sketch that people will show to you. The premise of both sketches is that Scott Sterling is a soccer or volleyball player who probably has the worst luck when it comes to playing sports. Both of these sketches are slapstick gold, and it's interesting to see how they did it on a technical level. Each up-close shot was actually a ball hitting him in the face, while all the scenic shots were CGI'd. Whether it was CGI'd or an actual physical hit, each one is perfectly timed and is funnier than the last. And the slow-mo shots are just icing on the cake. And the commentary that Steven and Jason have in both sketches are really well put together, even though they kind of get silenced out by your laughter after seeing Scott Sterling get hit yet again. Personally, I prefer the first one over the second one, mainly because I think they tried a little bit too hard to outdo the first one, but that doesn't mean that it's terrible. It's really good. Again, what sells these sketches is Matt and how much damage he can take. Heck, he's probably the funniest character that I've seen on sketch comedy, period. These sketches just never fail to deliver laughs for me and my friends, and hopefully you will get a great amount of laughs from it too. And those were my top 10 Studio C sketches. Again, if yours didn't make the list, feel free to put them in the comment section below. Also, tell me why you like the sketches I put on the list, or some of the ones that are in the comment section below, I have been 5150 Nighthawk 002. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Girls, we can't resist a bad boy. Girls, we can't resist a bad boy. Girls, we can't resist a bad boy. Bad boy.
We're pregnant, so we got the power. Say it! What? Say it! Pregnant, so we got the power. Say it! What? We're pregnant, so we got the power. Say it! What? Say it! Pregnant, so we got the power. Say it! What?
Be still, my heart. This time it's real, 'cause there's no way that he's ugly from the front.